Okay, I'm getting ready to see what I'm getting into on this project. This is a 2007 Club Car Precedent with the electronics in the middle. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to flip that tow switch right away. I'm going to disconnect the batteries. Then I'm going to take this cover off to expose the electronics. Normally I would lift the batteries out, but these are 12-volt batteries and they're really heavy, and I need help with them right now. My back is let's just say I need help, okay? So I'm going to try to look at the electronics while the batteries are still in here. Okay, I took the centerpiece out after flipping it in tow and disconnecting all the battery wires. I've exposed the electronics. This is what we got. Now, I have to move everything in here. This all has to move somewhere because we need about 3 more inches to make, if we were going to butt that lithium unit up against the side of that bucket coming this way. So we've got to move this stuff somewhere out of the way. If it was completely out of the way, we could set the thing right in here, the unit, and it would be fine. So I'm looking at this. We've got the motors going, the wires going back to the motor. We've got the computer, which we're going to be removing. We're no longer need that computer, so that comes out. But all of this other wiring in the plastic tubing, we're going to see what has to be done. But this whole mechanism or unit is, see how it slides in the sides? They got plastic slots here and it just slides in. So if I can, once I remove these 2 batteries on the driver's side, hopefully we can pull enough slack in these wires to move this stuff this way. If we can then remount this whole setup over here and reuse the original cover. That's what I'm shooting for. So I'm going to next, it looks like I have to disconnect these wires going to the motor, because in order to lift this whole thing up, it's pretty deep. It looks like it's about 12 inches deep, and I don't think I have that much slack in these wires. So I'm going to make a diagram where these wires go, then I'm going to remove them, and then I'm going to try to, well, I'll remove these 2 batteries, and then I'm going to see what we have to deal with. Okay, I removed all the wires off of the controller. I unplugged the 2 wires that go to the tow switch. I unplugged the wires that were feeding the back of the OBC, which was the gray wire coming from the back of the charge receptacle, the number 10 black coming from the charge receptacle, and the red was the main feed already disconnected. But disconnected all of that, and the bracket slid right up and it's still attached. It looks like there's going to be enough room to push this over and relocate it just past this part here. Let me get where you can see. So I just opened up the bracket, the mounting bracket that we need, or that comes with the club car. This is it. See the threaded, those are threaded holes. So what this thing does, it lays down in the bottom, it bolts to the bottom like this. Okay, where you're going to bolt it. That bolts to the bottom of the cart through here, 4 bolts. And then you've got the threaded ones, and it comes with bolts to bolt the actual battery unit to this. But first, what I'm going to have to do, I'm going to have to cut out this hump and this hump so this bracket will lay flat, because I want to put it in the middle. And in the middle, we've got this hump and this hump. So I'm either going to take a Sawzall or a one of my other nibblers and just cut that out. Once I cut that out, I'm going to go ahead and bolt this down And after that, the next thing we can do is throw the unit in here, bolt that down, and then it's just a matter of remounting stuff and putting the charger in here and a reducer. And that reminds me, if you're going to do this, you need to have a reducer, a 48 volt 12 volt reducer. And in this case, I had to get one that has a constant hot to it. Let me show you, because I've got this one, because this has a radio and it needs a constant hot, or it's going to lose its memory every time you turn the key off. So you need a reducer if you're going to have lights on your cart. You don't necessarily need this one. This is kind of a pricey one, but I need that constant 12 volts so they don't lose their radio stations each time they turn it off. Okay, I removed this piece and this piece, so they're below this surface here, and I also removed this right here. So now I can take this, mount it right there. See, I've got room. I can go, but I'm going to mount it right about there. I'm going to bolt it down to the floor. Once I bolt it to the floor, we'll be ready to drop the unit in. And you can see we've got room now past here, because if you look at my other video on the last unit that I had, or here I can show you, you need very little room in the front or on the end of this unit, because you have your negative and positive wires that go on there. This little connector here is for the meter, and that's all the room you need. You don't need any other room, so you can really cut it close on the ends of this thing. Okay, so you'll see those feet right there, those mounting feet will bolt right to these. They're threaded. So let me bolt this thing down to the floor and we'll come back. Okay, now that I've got this all cleaned out, the bucket, I've got this bracket ready to mount. And before we do anything with this mess, I cleaned up I removed the OBC from here. So the only thing left on there is a toe switch and the controller. Cleaned the fins off. And before, next thing I'm going to have to do is I have to tear the floor up, remove this dash, so I can run, I've got to run a cable up underneath the floor into the dash for the meter, because the meter looks like this that comes with these. That's what it looks like. It's a 10 bar meter. Each bar represents 10% of the battery, but you can see it's a rectangle, and it comes with a connector on it that plugs in, so you cannot or should not splice the wires. So you've got to, there's the connector right there. So that's the meter. So I'm going to take the floor apart and run that in there. There's been a change of plans on the install on this Precedent. Let me turn the camera around and show you. This is the RoyPow unit right here. Remember yesterday I showed you how to clear out the bucket for the bracket, and then I was going to bolt the bracket down. Well, I realized I did not need the bracket. I was able to bolt this thing right directly through the floor, through the bucket. See the two bolts there? Two bolts down there. So I did not need that bracket. So, turn it this way. So now that I have that in, and that's the biggest part of this whole install, just getting the unit in there. I showed you the two heavy handles, which are beautiful. Just dropped it right in, drilled the holes, the 4 holes for the bolts, slammed it down. Now, the only thing left to do as far as the battery is hook up the positive, the red, and the negative wires for the, I'll be hooking up a reducer and also my charger and the control wires and the meter. Other than that, that's all there is. It's very simple. So what I just learned, and hopefully will help you guys. If you're going to buy one of these RoyPow units and you're going to install it in a Precedent, you do not need to buy the bracket. The bracket's extra. No, it's just an expense you don't need. So now that I know that, I won't be ordering so many brackets. And if somebody wants to order a unit from me, I will ask them whether they want the bracket or not. So anyway, so I just learned that. So it's just a little less money. So let's continue on with our install. Now, the next thing for me is I'm going to take this floor apart and the dash apart so I can thread the meter wire up through there. And I will show you when I get it out. And once I get that meter threaded through there and I get it installed wherever I'm going to put it in the dash, the only thing left on this whole project is putting it back together, the controller and the other stuff right here, and hopefully it comes out good. I told you I'm getting ready to pull the floor up. In order to do that, you need to pull these two bolts out of here. They're Torx bolts, they're T40. It's like this, it's a T40. You pull those two out on each side, passenger and driver. Then you pull out the little push pin Christmas tree things from there, and that will loosen this. We'll be able to pull that up. But also next I need to pull this up, and how I do that, I've got a little screwdriver that I'm going to plug in there. See if I can get out of the way of the camera. You just plug it in here. Can you see that? And you just pry it and it comes right out. So it's hard to do. I'm trying to hold the camera, but I'm going to put the camera down and pull that off. Okay, I got that ring off. Just pry it off of there. In the video I had a straight blade screwdriver. I had to just get a pointed one, but see, that comes off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these two skirts off of here. See, it just comes out there. Up here, same thing. We got little spring clips underneath here. This is going to come out. Then I'm going to lift up and pull out this rubber floor mat. So let me do that. I'm going to pull these two skirts off. I'm going to pull that mat out, and then we'll be able to get to the 3 bolts that hold this toe kick in place. Also, there's a 10mm bolt inside here you need to take out, and it loosens that. You need to do that on both sides. I forgot to tell you that. I'm getting old. So this comes up, then you can just pull this out. You can pull this thing off. See? So now I'm going to cut the camera off. I'm going to pull the other one off. I'm going to pull this floor up, and then I'll show you these 3 bolts, how to get that loose, that toe kick. Okay, got the side screws off, got the floor removed. Now, we're getting ready to take this toe kick out. The easiest way to do it, there's 4 bolts that are screws that hold this body down. They're T30 Torx. Here's one, and here's one. So I took the 2 front ones out so I could loosen the body a little bit. Then that exposes these T40 Torx screws. There's 3 of them. Okay, so I've pulled those 3 out, and now that this ring is out, what's going to happen? I'm going to be able to grab this body and lift it up a little bit, enough with one hand to pull this out from the bottom. And once I do, we will be open as far as from the battery compartment to get underneath the floor mat and into the dash area. Okay, I'm going to show you, I just took the floor apart and I'm ready to show you the next step, but I wanted to turn the camera around because I got my haircut today. I wanted you to see it. So here's let me show you what's next. Okay, so remember we loosened the 2 bolts to hold the body down. I took out the 3 bolts to hold the toe kick. We pulled the toe kick out. So now See, down here, without the toe kick, this is what it looks like. Now, my next step, you see the charge receptacle right there? I'm going to take that out. There's 3 little Torx T10. I got my flash right here. There's 3 there. There's 3 T10 Torx screws that holds that in. This is the back of it. I've already got it all the wires disconnected. So I'm going to take those 3 screws out, and I'm going to take this out. The reason I'm taking that out is we're not going to be using the club car charger anymore. What we're going to be using, I bought one of these 110 plugs. That's the one I bought right there. I got a buddy of mine that made this plate for me. So I'm going to see if I can get him to make some more. But the idea is we're going to pull that plug out and install this in the hole in that down there. We're going to screw this on there, and then on the back it's got a female pigtail. It's only like a foot long, but that we're going to be able to plug the charger in. So when I put this in here, the female thing's going to be hanging in here. Then I can just plug the charger in, the 110, and mount the charger in here, and then wire it to this battery pack. So I wanted to show you that before I pull that out. And I wanted to show you the meter. So this is the meter right here that comes with these units. Okay, and you can see this is the end, the connector that plugs right into this. Okay, get it back there. That's the positive. That's the connector. So there's no splicing. So what's going to happen? They got a little plastic connector here that I can take apart for the meter, because I am going to mount that meter. This has the dash kit, so I'm going to cut a hole right here in this dash kit for this meter, and then underneath, so it's going to be sitting in this area here where you got room for it, I'm going to drill a hole down here to run the wire down through here, through the floor channel in, and we'll probably feed it. There's a hole down here under here. See this hole right here? I'm going to feed it through there after I pull this charger receptacle out. So I wanted to show you that. That's the next step. I'm going to take that receptacle out. I'm going to string this wire, this meter wire, up through here. Then I got to proceed to cut the meter into that dash, and I can put the dash back together. Okay, I got the receptacle out. See where it was? And before I put the new one in there, see this little cutout in the plastic? So this is the connector for the meter. I'm going to slide it through there. So it's right here, and I'm going to plug it on here. Meanwhile, I'll thread the rest of this down through the floor channel and up into the location right there where it's going to end up. Hey, I'm interrupting this video because I'm at home in my garage right now reviewing what I taped yesterday, and I realize I need to tell you the receptacle that I'm putting in this club car for the 110 to plug into for the charger. You do not have to do that. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm going to mount the charger, the new lithium charger, on board. I'm going to mount it inside the battery bucket. So you don't need to do that. All you have to do, if you have a club car and you're going to put this RoyPow unit in, your charger that you get is freestanding, and it works just like any other charger, and you can plug it into your normal club car receptacle. You don't need to move it, take it out like I am. You just have to rewire it and bypass the OBC. So want to make that clear. You do not have to go to the extent that I'm doing this. I'm just making it so this customer can drive his cart anywhere he wants, and if he wants to opportune charge his cart, he can. He just needs to plug in anywhere, and he can plug it in for 10 minutes and it's going to help because these batteries will charge up in fully charged in 2 hours. So anyway, just want to make clear that's why I'm doing this, is because I'm putting the charger on board. It does not have to be that way. Okay, what I've done, I've drilled a hole with my unibit through the center where I'm going to put this meter. Let me get it. This meter, I unplugged it from the cord, and then you can see I traced it. See the outline? This one, I'm going to cut it out. I poked this through the hole. I lined this up where I wanted it, and then I traced the outside of it. So now I'm going to cut this hole out. And also wanted to show you down here, I drilled a hole through there and threaded the wire cord, whatever you want to call it, up through there. See? So it comes up through there. Once I get the meter mounted, I'll plug that connector together and the wire will run all the way back there. Okay, I got the meter cut in this dash. I don't need to show you it, but I'm showing it to you anyway. So it's cut in there. Wires hanging, dash is put back together. The wire, the cable is going to go under the floor eventually into the bucket area and going to plug into right there. Now I've got to figure out how to relocate all this crap, and it looks like I can do this without cutting any wires. There's enough slack that I can pull this over and put the new location for this cover maybe over here. Before, let me get up here. Before, this cover used to cover all this center stuff, and it went from here, you see this, it went from here to this side over to here. So here, I got a tape measure. Let me measure that. Before, it used to go from there to there, which is about 7 inches. Now, the reason I'm showing you that is before, I've got my tape measure hooked on the edge over there, the lip where the cover used to go, and you see in the back at 4 1/4 inches right here, this thing right here is the channel that the bracket slid back down into. There's a channel on each side, and this bracket just slid right down in there, and that's all that kept it in place. It wasn't secured, so it slid in there, and all of this electronics was in the center. So what I'm going to do now that I know it's 4 1/4 inches is where this was before. 4 1/4 inches from here in is where this bracket goes. So what I'm going to do is, eventually my plan is, I always buy this aluminum angle at Home Depot. I think it's 1 inch by 1 inch or 3/4 by 3/4, but we buy this, and I think it comes in 4-foot lengths. We keep this on our truck because this is what we use to rebuild battery cages that rust through or corrode through, especially on the old DS's. We rebuild them with this. We don't try to weld it. We buy this, cut the length we need, and we just drill and screw, usually self-tapping screws, and just wherever we go, this way, and we'll build a complete battery tray out of this. But anyway, where I'm going with this, once I figure out where the new edge of my cover is going to be, I'm going to measure over 4 1/2 inches, 4 1/4, and I'm going to screw this to the back plate of the cart, and then it'll give me this lip. I'm going to do it on both sides. It'll give me the lip that I will screw this into. So when it's done, it's going to be like this. I'm sorry. This will be on the back, and I'm going to run the screw through here, a couple of them. And that's how I will mount that, the controller and all that. So next, I'm going to show you I'm hoping to start it right about here. and go this way. I think there's enough slack. I'm going to wrestle this in here for just a dry run and see what it looks like. This is a dry run, but it looks like, looking down on it, I can get this lined up down there where I wanted to start, and it's going to cover all of our electronics. This stuff just hanging out here for now, but it looks like I'm going to be able to get my 2 inches, or actually about 3 inches between here and here, because the only thing over here is these 2 battery terminals, and they give you bolts that screw in there, so you don't have any protrusions hanging off of there. It's just pretty much a very clean installation. But getting back, I'm going to have my anywhere from 2 to 3 inches clearance here. I can relocate everything right there. All I have to do to this cover is hitting this little bump out, so I will notch this all the way down so this will come over farther, and once I do that, I will mark where I'm going to put my angle iron and 4 1/4 back from that edge, and remount all that stuff, and we should be pretty much done. Okay, I just got done with my dry run, and it looks like it's going to work. This is where this is going to end up. Boy, I ended up with a lot more room than I thought. This stuff is just flopping for right now. All I did here was, my plan, I was trying to find out where I could put this. So I'm going to relocate this to right there. Gives me plenty of room to mount my charger, because I'm going to put it down here on board. I'm going to put the charger in here. I'm going to put a reducer in here. And then inside here, all the electronics are going to go. So let me show you what I did. You can see I notched this out for this, but let me pull this out of here. So nothing's hooked up, but I took my air router, looks like that, and I went in here, and you can see I just routed a groove on both sides. That was a test groove, you can't see that, but I routed a groove on both sides, and now this whole thing, it's tight. I don't even have to bolt it in there if I don't want to, but I went down here and I chewed out a little bit more for that nut. See how I went around it? And this goes all the way down there, and it just fits in there perfect. Love it. So I'm going to next hook all these wires and all the electronics back up to this thing, and that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to put this cover on there, make sure everything fits nice and snug. Then we'll finish the charger and throw a reducer in here, and we'll be good to go. But this was nowhere near as hard as I thought it was going to be. Okay, I almost have this thing put back together. I've got this mounted. I hooked the wires back up to the controller. I have my main positive wire laying over there. See it? Laying over there, and I got my main negative wire laying somewhere. Oh, back in here already. They're going to hook up to here and here. So all I have to do is I'll make a little notch at the bottom of that trough, so these will come out at the bottom, and I'll hook them up right there and right there. And I will also hook up my battery meter to there. That's the on and off switch. And the last thing I have to do before I close this up is wire my reducer in. And I'll hook these are the toe switch wires. And since I took the OBC out, remember, we have to bypass, so we need to splice this white wire and this blue wire together. So what I'm doing, I've cut the male end off of an OBC. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick my little screwdriver in there and release 4 of those wires. So the only 2 left in there will be the blue and the white. Okay, and then I'm going to put a butt splice, this blue and white right here, and then I'll just plug this connector onto that one. I like to do it that way instead of, I mean, I could have cut all of these off and just splice the blue and white here, but looks a lot cleaner if I can just plug this in, and that's it. So my next video, here's my number 10 bullet for my grounds. So, and that's coming off of the same terminal as my main on the controller that my main negative wire is coming. So my next video, I will be installing this Mad Jack's converter. Got to use this heavy sucker to give me constant power for my radio that's in this cart, so for up there. So anyway, that's it. I'll be back. Okay, final day on this RoyPow install on this 07 Precedent, and I'm pretty much done, at least as far as videoing. And here, let me turn the camera around and show you what we've got. Okay, you know what I started with. There's the RoyPow unit. Get this out of the way. This is the relocated controls, all the electronics. Let me show you. This is the RoyPow unit. There's only 2 wires hooked up to the positive. The main cable going to the solenoid, and the positive for the charger. And the negative, there's only 2. The main negative going to the controller, and the blue one is the negative for the charger. Mounted the charger on board. This is the charger. Routed everything underneath, notched out the corners. And I still have got this much room in here. I've still got 4 inches there. Let me turn it this way. There you can see this is the wire harness. I didn't have to cut anything. Was able to notch it out. All I have left to do is put back the floor and the charge receptacle. This is the wire, the other end of the charger. I'm going to hook it directly to the back of the 110 plug-in. I'm going to put right there. And let me show you the meter. So here's the button. You hold it in for a couple seconds. Okay, you heard that? That means it just powered up. When it powers up, there's the meter. Kind of hard to see, but there's 10 slots. Each one's 10%. So backing up, you can see it. Hard to see in here because of my fluorescent light. Hey, look at there underneath the plastic. So you can see it. So all I have to do now is put my 10mm screw in here to screw that back down. And inside, I'll probably throw some tie wraps on the excess wire from the meter. And let me pull this off to show you underneath here. Try to do it with one hand. Okay, move this. This is what we ended up with. I had to put that big ass reducer in there because I needed a constant hot for the radio up here. Normally you wouldn't need that if you don't have a radio, and you can put a smaller reducer down here, because you do need to put a reducer on this cart if you're going to use these RoyPow units, because you need the 12 volts for your lights. But I wanted to show you back up. There's the original bracket. There's all the wiring. Oh, and I did put this slick terminal strip in there. You can see it. I put that in there so mainly to tie all my negatives together, but I just made use of it for everything. But other than that, everything is there. So hopefully that shows those of you that got the earlier precedents that it is possible, and it's not that big a deal. You can easily do it in a day. I've been doing it on and off. You can probably tell because I got different clothes on throughout the video. But anyway, that's pretty much all I had to show you on this install, to show you it can be done. I love these units. You did find out that I found out you don't need these mounting brackets. I hope RoyPow doesn't watch this, because I'm not buying any more brackets from them. but you don't need the brackets, at least not on the Yamaha, the RXV, or the Precedent. So the only one I have not tried putting one of these on is a DS. It's a DS. Matter of fact, I got a DS. This, I don't know if I even want to get involved in trying to put one on this DS, because you've got to move the controller. This cross brace is higher than the one in the front, and it would be a huge undertaking. So let's say if you have a DS, let's not put the RoyPow in it. Okay, well, anyway, that's it. Gonna sign off. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully it taught those of you that thought it couldn't be done that it can be done. So thank you for watching Wayne's Golf Carts out here in Indio, California, where it's beautiful. And text me, email me, go to my YouTube channel, buy stuff on my eBay store, Wayne's Golf Carts, and I have anything you want. Let me turn in. If you're looking for parts, keep my tires up there, my body's up there, but see all these boxes? These are light kits and brake parts, and I just can't tell you all the parts we have. So I don't put all this stuff on my eBay store, but if you're looking for something, you can email me and I will tell you if I have how much it would cost. Okay, I'm not trying to sell parts, I'm just saying if you can't find them, I probably do have them. So thank you, and I appreciate the view and the subscriptions.